some students here, because we're talking about 2024. That's about the time you buy a house. And what happens here, this is not going to end. This is incremental. Now we're going to extend it. In a couple years, we'll increase it as well. That's typically what happens. You may be familiar with a guy named Karl Marx, and he wrote a book called Das Kapital. And in that book, he said, the way you should run your economy is you should give to people based on need. And that sounds right. Why not give to people based on need? But the thing about that is, everybody has need, and need is infinite. And everybody can tell a really good story about what they need. And there's another guy, whose name is Adam Smith. He wrote a book called Wealth of Nations. And he said, what you ought to do in your economy is give to people based on what they produce. And then the same thing happens. People produce more and more and more. And they're allowed to keep what they produce. You don't take a lot of it away from them in taxes. And then the whole economy, and this is what has been the story of the United States. In every instance of the first example where you give based on need, that is called Marxism or socialism. And in every instance in the history of this planet, those countries that have done that have collapsed.
I understand your points. I just think your comparison to Marx is a little inappropriate here.
Well, let me tie it in for you, okay?
I understand what Marxism is. I know who Adam Smith is. I think directing it at all of us is a little inappropriate.
I do not dispute that you and we have all those needs that you have laid out. We are in need, that's absolutely correct. But you have not addressed the issue of ability to pay. And we have gone past the tipping point.
To pay this bond rate, I can look to essentially the ratio that we look at is our debt ratio, our amount of debt relative to our property values within a given community. And as we look at within the county, Ann Arbor, in every case, Ann Arbor continues to be minuscule. They're one of the lowest in the state because they have such a strong commercial property value base. Next is Saline and Chelsea are very similar, and then everyone else in the county has less ability, in theory, based on just on straight numbers, to pay than what we're asking. To use numbers to illustrate, according to the state and according to the analysis of our debt versus our property values, we in fact do have the ability to pay and are better suited for this than virtually everyone else in the area.